test that theory.
Reminds me of us when we first met.
I was nicer.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, the Infuso. And it's time to yet again check out another Batman-Superman movie that isn't actually a Batman-Superman movie. Not that I'm complaining, because this movie is actually one of the best animated DC movies that I've seen in quite some time. I can understand people having their problems with DC's line of films and even their TV shows, but when it comes to animated movies, they're just always putting out bangers. And this is no different. And that's why today, we're talking about Batman and Superman, Battle of the Supersons. There is so much to love about this movie, so let me just go ahead and start listing them. I really like the artwork. The style makes it feel unique and distinct from other Batman-Superman movies, which was probably an intentional decision made to not confuse the movie-going audience as being tied into the new DC animated universe. To me, it sort of looks like a modernized MTV Spider-Man the New Animated Series, just with more advanced technology. And if you don't believe me, look at these two character models side by side and tell me I'm wrong. The only other way I can describe it is as Into the Spider-Verse light. And I'm not just a fan of the style of animation, I'm also a really big fan of the character designs. Superman is out here donning the classic Christopher Reeve look. Batman is dressed in his famous Arkham Asylum attire. And I know that this costume didn't start there, because Batman has used this look many a times throughout all of his media. I think the Robin design is looking pretty crisp here, which really isn't a shock. Because if there was one good thing you could say about Damian Wayne, it's that kid has quite the wardrobe. No matter how much I've ever disliked this character, I would never deny that he is the coolest looking Robin designs out of the bunch of them. No question. And even Jonathan Kent has a pretty nice looking getup. In terms of the cast, there isn't a bad performance amongst the bunch. The two Jacks playing the two leads are pretty much perfect in their roles, managing to make these animated characters feel very, well, animated. I feel like both these actors make both these characters feel like both kids and heroes alike. They deserve all the praise. Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey give everything you'd expect in a Superman and Lois performance. They're kind, they're caring, they're loving. I think that Darren DePaul was made to be Lex Luthor. And Nolan North made for a surprisingly great Jor-El. We even have some returning cast, as Troy Baker plays a very stoic and very stern Batman. And Tom Kenny once again voices the Penguin. Not that there's any surprise there, as he seems to be the go-to voice for this character since 2004. And in addition to playing that part, he also plays the Green Arrow. And it is shockingly not bad. Tom Kenny is a very talented dude, but I would have never thought to cast him in this role. It really wouldn't be something that I could see him doing, or I guess more accurately, hear him doing. But I'm glad I did, because it really works. Where this movie truly succeeds is in its characters. The movie follows Superman's son, watching him develop as a person, develop as a character, and develop as a soon-to-be hero. He's a sweet kid living a pretty mundane but peaceful existence. He feels like the everyman just before they became the everyman. He's the every boy. He's good-hearted and good-natured. And for the most part, he's modest and means well. But it's not like he's some Boy Scout. When told not to search for his birthday presents, he does what any kid his age would do, and goes and does that anyway. Now that may seem like a strange thing to highlight, but it's little details like this that make the character feel less like a goody two-shoes and more like an actual child. Or how Jonathan still holds a grudge against his bully. Don't get me wrong, he's still absolutely his father's son. Whether that be through nature or nurture, he has the same exact mannerisms and mentality as his father. Just without any of the wisdom, maturity, or training that comes with experience and time. Because of this, he feels reminiscent of what came before him, but he never feels entirely too derivative. The same goes for its titular character counterpart, Batman's son and the new Robin. I think this movie offers up a much more grounded and realistic take on Damian Wayne. He's still the egotistical maniac that he's always been, but here we're really shown the true tragedy in all that. His upbringing has caused him to be an outcast. And because he believes himself better than everyone else, there's no one really on his level in his eyes. And he lacks the capability of meeting others on theirs. Point blank, he just doesn't know how to socialize. And I don't want to come to his defense here entirely. The kid is a bit of a dick. Grayson. But he really doesn't mean to be. Damian can't help but be a jerk. Being raised as the heir to a throne rather than a child, only to be taken out of a league of assassins to be mentored by a man in a bat mask who rarely ever engages in conversation, probably isn't the proper breeding ground for a social butterfly. Through no fault of his own, he doesn't do well with others. Even his father struggles with him here. While incredibly skilled, the character's ego trumps his abilities. He doesn't interact very often with others, and because of that, he's a little disassociated from society. He's careless, he's reckless, he's just an overall unintentional, unpleasant person. And it's only through his eventual friendship with Jonathan does that change. Well, to a degree. It's like he's still an ass, but he's less of an ass. While I've normally been a total Scrooge over the whole next generation of heroes, and believe me, my hatred for Damian has been documented.
I thought it was a matter of record.
And Little Soups over here has never been high on my hero list. I didn't really have anything against him, but I really didn't have anything for him either. But this movie endears me to both these characters. And more importantly, it made me invested in their friendship. The two really come off like miniature versions of their parents. It feels like we're watching Batman meet Superman all over again. You know, if that happened in the 6th grade. I like that their dynamic matches their father's friendship, but it still isn't exactly a complete recreation. You know, Batman never tried to help Superman develop his powers by attempting to kill him. And like their fathers before them, this friendship is formed almost begrudgingly at first. Because Jonathan is such a good guy that he manages to charm Prince Charmless over here. It's a very interesting but natural teaming. And the process of these two becoming friends seems legitimate. Beyond that though, I think that their relationship works so well here because the two young ones are teaching each other. Through their bond, Damian is learning to become a little bit more humble and a little bit, well, more human. Which is ironic because Jonathan is actually less human than Damian is. And Jonathan is learning how to become a hero. Jonathan becomes Damian's first real friend. And Damian sort of becomes Jonathan's mini mentor. They ground each other and have a very symbiotic friendship. The scenes in which we see Superman bond with his son are nothing short of adorable. I enjoy this older version of the Red Blue Boy Scout. Superman has settled down and become Super Dad, and the man absolutely lives up to that nickname I just gave him. Despite working a full-time job and being a full-time hero, he still goes out of his way to find time to bond with his son. Teaches him farm work, looks out for him. You get the feeling that Superman prioritizes being a hero and being a father equally. But he's constantly struggling to find a happy medium between the two. Sometimes sacrificing time with his son to make time for Metropolis. And I gotta tell you, what I really love about this scene more than anything else, it's just Superman building his son's confidence while also disguising his identity. Having him feel like he was a part of lifting that. I know it's such a small, minor detail, but sometimes they're the ones that count. That small action tells us so much about this relationship. About how much this father loves his son, about what kind of a father Superman actually is. That little act of encouragement is impactful. And you know what? I think it would be really easy to get something like this wrong. Aging beloved characters up and giving them a family is always going to be a risk. You're advancing established lore, and not everyone's going to be on board because not everyone likes change. I've really learned to love watching my favorites grow up, and in a lot of ways, I think making them parents further develops them as characters. It definitely gives them a little bit more vulnerability, but I feel like in a way, it also gives them more humanity. More to love and care for, more to worry about. And it also allows us to see these characters in another light. They're the same people we knew, but now they're taking on new roles. The main characters that we grew up with, our leading men, are now supporting players, passing the torch and taking a back seat to their sons, becoming their teachers. And really, when you think about it, isn't that what being a parent is? Living your life as a main character, but then becoming a secondary one? Of course, we didn't get to see too much of these relationships, as the big bad Starro warps their minds and makes them clueless drones to do its bidding. Which, by the way, the Starro transformation scenes here are fucking frightening. And I mean that in the best way possible. It looks so involuntary and physically painful. It toes the line between aesthetically awesome and aesthetically awful all at once. And Starro's design? Not gonna lie, pretty sick. I wouldn't really think that there's a whole lot you could do with this character to deviate away from its original appearance, but I find this update to be more than acceptable. It's still Starro, but now it's like Starro with style. Like I said, there is so much to love about this movie. Even the little things are done incredibly well here. Like having the opening credits basically recap Superman's career and Clark Kent's whole life, all leading up to the birth of his son and our main character. It's almost like watching the opening was the transition from Superman 1 to the soon-to-be Superman 2. I also like that after learning that his father is the Man of Steel, Superman, Jonathan instead fanboys over the prospect of meeting Batman. That's kind of cute, and you know what? Fairly accurate. Look, I'm not trying to start any kind of war here, but I would like to think that there are probably more Batman fans out there than Superman fans. At least in my opinion. Red Blue believers, feel free to let me know that I'm wrong in the comment section below. That's what it's there for. I also like that when Jonathan manages to find his father's supersuit, he doesn't realize he's uncovered his greatest secret, and instead he just writes it off as cosplay. With all these characters on screen, I feel like none of them ever overstay their welcome. A lot of these characters' screen time, while beneficial to the narrative, for the most part, feel more like glorified cameos. Green Arrow, Martian Manhunter, President Lex Luthor, Jor-El, Crypto the Superdog, and not to mention Bat-Cow, are all accounted for. This movie is pretty great, but for as good as it is, I do still have some minor nitpicks with it. Like, for example, when Damian is getting disowned by the Teen Titans, the team looks a lot less like the Teen Titans and a lot more like Young Justice. But more importantly, you mean to tell me that this kid can give Jonathan Kent a black eye, but a mind-controlled Batman isn't leaving any bruises? Yeah, alright. Hard sell. And you know what? Everyone complains about seeing Batman's parents being horribly murdered, and how played out that is, but nobody ever talks about watching Superman's entire planet implode, and how often that's referenced. This movie wasn't even about him, it was about his kid, and yet the movie still felt the need to show us his origin story. It's compelling, don't get me wrong. I like it a lot. But at this stage, I feel like I've seen too much of it. I don't really know what new can be added to this to make me feel somewhat different about it. But to its credit, it does have its place in the movie, as it works as a low-key way of introducing Starro and tying the villain's origin into the Man of Steel's. And the title of this movie is just an all-around lie. Batman and Superman? They're barely in the movie. It's not about Batman and Superman, it's about Robin and, I guess, also Superman, because that's what he ends up being called. Yeah. And Battle of the Supersons? They don't ever battle each other. I mean, I guess you could say that it is their battle collectively, but it should be Battle of the Supersons and the giant parasitic leech that came from space. Battle of the Supersons just makes you think that it's Robin versus Superboy. In actuality, none of the things I just mentioned actually bother me. This is really me digging deep for things not to like, because they're not entirely apparent or present. I have very few legitimate critiques of this movie, because I think this is about as perfect of a movie as you could possibly make. Not that I've sat down to write the list out, but for me, this is absolutely somewhere on my top 10. I give this movie my highest recommendation. Whether you're a casual fan, a diehard, or a Batman-Superman virgin, I suggest you check it out. It's not just a good superhero movie, it's a good movie with superheroes. This movie has a whole lot of heart, and I think it deserves to be seen. And watching this in the last couple films I've watched have kind of given me a new perspective on Damian Wayne. So if you enjoyed this video and would want to see me do a follow-up about Bruce Wayne's biological son, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
Is Robin cool?
And with all that being said, I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.
Sounds like Batman's problem.